We have been out of the public for a very, very long time, and with that, it's easy for people to forget how you're supposed to act in public. Well, really, you shouldn't. I think it's unexcusable, but I'm no expertise on that. So here to talk more about how we act in public, etiquette, we are joined by Stacy Amey, the etiquette guru, and my headphones just came undone. So before we get to her, hi Stacy, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Beautiful. All right, so that is starting off with etiquette. Not the best on-air etiquette, but it's fine. So the first thing I wanted to ask you this morning, actually, tell me, I'm just going to get right into it. What is the number one thing that just drives you insane when it comes to bad etiquette?
People not owning it, just doing it and walking away from it. And it bothers me that they don't even realize their poor manners. That bothers me. And then, of course, they're not apologizing for things when they need to if they're not taking ownership of it.
So give me a story. What first comes to mind when you think of a time? I want an example of a time that something like that happened where someone did something and just had no regard for the situation.
I don't have anything specific off the top of my head except this current situation where people aren't being respectful towards one another. They're just within themselves and not realizing the ramifications of their behaviors and actions. So, just simply people getting too close to other people. And, you can tell if somebody is uncomfortable if they start backing away from you. And there are a lot of cultural considerations. I mean, Americans' space is about 3 feet. That's where we're comfortable. Other cultures, that space varies. So there is that to realize. But if you're someone who's crowding someone and they're backing away from you, read the signs. You can read body language. Back off, and we just need to be, especially right now, so respectful of individuals and their choices of what's happening with the vaccine and the masking and this and that. Everyone has their own reasons for doing what they're doing.
So with talking about going back into the office and people being together for the first time in a long time, not necessarily working on Zoom anymore, you come in, you're used to having conversations with your coworkers, talking to people. That's typical practices for the morning, but things might be a little different these days, not even necessarily just because of COVID restrictions, but maybe people are in bad moods. So you walk in, you see your coworker sitting there. Normally you'd go up and approach. Who's the one that's responsible for kind of reading the room? Do you see, maybe they don't want to talk, so do you just walk away, or do you approach them knowing that they might not want to talk and then they kind of give you the cold shoulder? Who's in the right in that situation, or how do you approach it?
Yes, I think read the room as best you can, but I believe just always be a positive force. If you get shut down, it's not your problem. You approach someone, you're friendly. Just reach out to people. Some people are in a bad way. Going back into the workplace, it's uncomfortable for them. So, seeing a friendly face or, you don't have to get really close to them, but I say absolutely approach them, say good morning. If you've already said good morning to them and you pass them again, acknowledge them. You can look at them, and if they're looking down, again, it's not your problem. You're trying to reach out to people, but just being friendly and understanding, and you're maybe that person that is leaving the door open. Or you could even say, hey, if you ever want to talk, give me a call or email me or come see me in my office, whatever the case may be. I think just being open with people, because there's a lot of crabby people out there, and it's understandable.
So then with more standard practices, things like holding the door open for the person behind you if you're walking. In a normal world, I would say you always, always, always hold the door for the person behind you. Maybe I'm wrong. You can fill me in on that. But in a COVID world, what does that look like? Is that the standard practice that you should always hold the door for the person behind you, grab handles, stuff like that? Or do you think that the standard for that has changed a little bit?
I hope the standard hasn't changed. We need to get back to what's normal. Yes, please still use your manners, hold doors open. The bottom line is you're washing your hands before you eat or do anything like that. So that's your protection there. We're not going to be able to live in a bubble. So our manners should come back to the surface because, remember lockdown. So many people were just longing for that personal interaction, and now's our opportunity to ease back into it. And it's it's going to take easing. I'm not going to say people have PTSD from this, but to some extent, this has been very difficult for people. So getting back to what's normal will bring a certain comfort level. And that's back to our manners, our basic manners. Yes, hold the door open for people. And let's try to get back to, some sort of normal. We're doing everything we can to try and shut this virus down.
So let's talk a little bit about indoor dining, going into a restaurant. Definitely something I do often. I'm happy it's something we're able to do. I'm going to call him out here. Our booking producer, Larry and Island, the other night, went out to eat with a couple of his friends, and he told them he was getting there about 15 minutes late. They knew he was getting there late, and when he arrived, they had already ordered their entrees. That's not acceptable, is it?
I disagree with that. Yes, they should have been patient and waited for him, especially since he took the time to tell them, I'm going to be late. That was their mistake. They needed to wait for him.
So in a situation like that, do you think there's a unwritten rule of some sort to how late a person could be before you can go ahead and start ordering? Or maybe could they have ordered a couple appetizers for everyone to share when he got there? What should you do?
Since he took it upon himself to tell them, I'm going to be late, that's one situation. They were wrong in not waiting for him. If you have a question mark and you're not sure what is happening with the person, I say maybe give them 15, 20 minutes. And if they don't show up, I think you can just continue on. Maybe you want to start with appetizers to give them a little bit more time, but that's the person who's late. So, that's their bad. They should be calling someone and telling them I'm stuck in traffic or what have you. And if they're just a no call and then a no show, that's very rude to the people that are sitting there waiting, and rude to the restaurant to have you just sitting in there drinking water. So yes, I say go ahead and order after 15, 20 minutes if you're not sure what the other person is doing.
How would you say the standard is different with going out to eat with your friends versus first date? I want to talk a little bit about that. Let's just jump into it. First dates, what are the biggest things that people need to be aware of? What are things that you just know on a first date you need to be conscious of as much as you want to be comfortable and be yourself? There are definitely certain things that you just gotta be a little more reserved with on a first date, like excusing yourself to go to the bathroom, or, I hope you're never late to a first date, but stuff like that. Just talk a little bit about what first dates should look like from an etiquette perspective.
Yes, best manners, absolutely. You're not wanting to relax really at all, watching your conversations, the tone of them, what you are speaking about, being mindful of your vocabulary, not using a lot of slang, and really just being on your best behavior. And hopefully, if you are out to eat, you have some sort of dining skills or dining etiquette. And that's a good place to, I hate to say it, but you're sizing that person up. Because obviously if they're eating, like a slob, it's probably not going to get better unless they take it upon themselves to learn about it. So yeah, just being on your best behavior is really, as best you're just behave yourself.
Right? Okay, so here's this situation. Tell me wash your alcohol. Well, hey, if the date's not going well, but all right, so let's say you're on a first date, they're a slob, it's going horrible, and you're like, there is no way I'm fixing this person, this is never happening again. At what point can you find a way to excuse yourself from this date? Like, it's so horrible, you need to get out of there? Or do you have to just wait it out for the first whole date and then never talk to the person again?
I think if you're that uncomfortable and it's really going poorly, I would definitely, if you're at dinner, finish your meal and then take it outside and tell them, you have to leave, and you can make up an excuse. Of course, this is very important. You would never want to post anything on social media about how terrible your date was or anything like that. You don't want to, insult the person that way. But I don't think you have to, maybe your plan was to go to dinner and a movie. You don't have to complete that and go to the movie. If you're uncomfortable and it's not working out, just, you can just say, I don't see this working out. You don't have to play games with the person, and you can walk away.
So what about in a little bit of larger group situations? If I'm out to dinner with, 6 of my friends and I have to go to the bathroom, I'm probably not going to announce to the group, hey, everyone, I need to go pee. So Do you just get up and leave and not tell anyone? Do you tell the person next to you? How do you approach that in a group situation?
If you have something to do, maybe you need to take a phone call or go use the restroom, just simply say, excuse me, and leave. They don't need to know the particulars, and you don't have to say anything more than that.
So, when it comes to teaching people etiquette, what is normally your approach? How do you think you really ingrain that in someone's mind, the things they need to do? Is it a step-by-step process? Is it over time? Talk to me a little bit about how you do that.
Some of the skills, they are obvious and step by step. Here is how you do this. Here is how you are poised and walk and sit down properly, things like that. Other things, yes, it's over time. It's having conversations. It's hearing how they are approaching conversations or the back and forth. I feel like the younger people are at a little bit of a disadvantage. They are so reliant on the way they communicate with their phones that they've lost that personal touch. So their communication ways are questionable and they need some support. So for them, the people that are a little bit older and know better, it's just kind of pinpointing where they are dropping the ball. Again, it boils down to communication. Some people aren't good at it, but getting some sort of comfort level, and once they are receiving the tools and understanding it, that empowers them, and then they become better communicators. So it's just practice and going back and forth and practicing the skills. If that's what we're doing, you just have to practice these things until they're seamless and you don't have to think about them anymore.
So, kind of on another topic, let's talk a little bit about, well, still going out to restaurants, but paying the bill. If you're out with a big group of people, is it, I don't want to use the word disrespectful, but poor etiquette, I guess, to ask for 10 separate checks? Or even if it's two people, do you think if you're on a date, is it the waiter's responsibility to ask about the check situation? Do you assume the guy's paying? Can you not do that? Just talk to me a little bit about different situations with paying the bill and how you should go about that to make sure you're being respectful to everyone.
I think it's helpful if you can communicate with people beforehand. But if it's, there's different situations, maybe you don't ever want to assume, obviously, but if I'm just big on communicating. If you're unsure, you could ask, hey, do you want to go Dutch treat? Does everybody want separate checks? Or do we, maybe be the facilitator? Do you want to just separate the bill when we're finished? I was recently out to dinner, and this was a cute story with people, and I had never met this couple. And this gentleman is a mentor of mine, and I had never met him face to face. And the bill came, and I said, oh, please let us, my husband and I, let us get this. And he said, oh, no. And the funny thing is, I've never heard anybody say this. He literally said, money is no object. And I laughed and thought in my head, okay, well, then you get the bill. I didn't say that, of course. But we ended up just paying each our own. And it wasn't uncomfortable. And it was just that little bit of conversation needed to happen. And then everybody relaxes. I think when you don't communicate, that's when you freeze and are wondering who's paying, what should I do? And then that makes it uncomfortable. So just always open those communication lines, and maybe you just are steadfast. I would like to pay for myself. That's fine. It's not really that offensive if you're really wanting to, or you could say, well, if it's a date, I would like to treat next time, something like that. Or if someone wants to pay and they're adamant about it, you could offer, well, can I leave the tip then? So.
And then another situation that I always kind of think about, especially lately as we're going back into big crowds, concerts, sporting events, stuff like that. Let's say you're walking, you're on your phone, someone bumps into you or something. I hate it more than anything when the person will bump into you and then, they give you that look almost as if you did something wrong, and then they just keep walking. In a situation like that, do you stop and say, I'm so sorry, or what are you supposed to do? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's fine to just give them a dirty look and keep walking. I don't know. You tell me.
No, again, being that positive, nice person, that only harms you when you're like that. So I always just say, oh, excuse me, and just go my own way. I'm not going to get caught up in wow, that was rude, or, say nothing, or do the old excuse you. I've heard that, and that's that's kind of silly. So, just excuse me and move on. And it's just like I had someone road raging on me yesterday. And I know there's people that get so worked up about that. And, I was kind of monitoring my own heart rate in that. And I did have a little jump because it was quite aggressive, but I just let it go. You're not going to harm me because of your rage. You can't fix other people. You can only work on what's looking at you in the mirror.
So I was actually going to ask you that. With you being the etiquette guru, you obviously got to be on your best behavior, but are there times that even you're like, really kind of having to bite your tongue, just getting a little heated, wishing you could cross the line a little bit?
Of course, I'm human. I get mad. Absolutely. People are aggravating. So, just as best I can, maintaining myself. But yes, of course.
All right. Well, Stacy, just a couple more minutes with you this morning. One thing I do want to ask you, because I know, especially in today's world, coughing and sneezing is almost unacceptable in public. Normally, you cough, you sneeze, someone says bless you, but you excuse yourself. Are there situations where you're in a quiet room and you sneeze and you shouldn't say bless you if it's going to be more disruptive, or should you always? What's the right thing to do there?
I guess if it's going to be disruptive, I would stay quiet. That person already feels embarrassed too. So, if it was me doing the sneezing, I would quietly say, excuse me, and I would get up to go wash my hands, or, go to the restroom, whatever the case may be. If someone else does it, I'm not going to shoot them a dirty look. These are, bodily functions that are in place. So you can't help it. And if you have to cough, nobody has to freak out. There's still allergy issues and things like that, or they may be getting a cold, or they may be getting COVID, but nobody needs to freak out because they already feel uncomfortable. I remember way back when this first started, I sneezed, and I was in the fruit and vegetable market. And there's a lot of healthy people in there. I've noticed not a lot of coughs and sneezes go on in there. So I felt just like I was like a spotlight flashed on me, but I just looked, I went to the bathroom, and there's nothing you can do. And people shooting you dirty looks is not helpful at all. There's really no call for that. But if you can quietly bless someone, that's always nice.
Well, I agree. And I think people need to remember that even in a pandemic world, we still get the cold. So it's definitely nothing crazy. But is there anything else you want to share this morning, talk to us about before we have to let you go that we haven't covered?
I don't think so. You're new to me, and you've been lovely. It's nice to meet you. I always update everyone. I work on this magazine for kids, so I'll just show you. I don't remember where I left off, but this is issue 10.
Wow. I love the cover art. Do you design that?
Thank you. I don't. Boris Kim, my illustrator, is wonderful. And it's just, this whole thing about just the pandemic and everything, using your manners and etiquette, it's a sneaky way to make you feel happy, because you are helping others, but it's making you feel happy. And it's with this magazine, it's cultivating your own Super Murray inside of you. And that's just the whole thing about manners and etiquette, are to make others feel comfortable whenever you can. So really, I hope people just continue to cultivate that and be nice and positive to other people. Just continue on. This is continuing on, unfortunately, but it's going to come to an end eventually. But let's just keep our manners in mind and be nice to people. Everyone can use some niceness in these days.
You can say that again on repeat. Stacy, thank you so much. It was so nice talking with you this morning and meeting you. So have a great, Wednesday? Rest of your week, weekend, whatever it may be. Thank you so much.